I would create posts, I would do videos, I would do lives, posting on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and I thought this is exhausting. Is there a better way? I have seen rejection after rejection, and yet I'm still here. I just found myself taking one little course here, one little coaching program there, and started to build my own online business. And the first online offering that I made 25,000 Canadian, and I thought, whoa, this is possible.
If you can put your finger and say, this one thing here has been the most valuable thing I have learned with AdClients, what would you say that is?
Biggest lesson is that
for those people who don't know who you are, because they won't once they come across you this video, and don't know what your business is, if you could just give us a little summary, who you are, what you teach, and kind of how that process has looked for you.
So yeah, I am Lynn Kuo, and I'm a violinist, orchestral violinist, concert violinist, and I'm an educator. And a brief background is that because of COVID pandemic, I suddenly found myself thrust into online entrepreneurship. And I had no plans to be an entrepreneur, but I suddenly became one. And I'm the type of person that's very, very dogged and very tenacious. And so about 2.5 years later, after I started my business online, here I am, and I'm coaching advanced violinists all over the world in my high ticket group coaching programs.
Amazing. Okay, cool. So you mentioned that COVID kind of thrust you into the kind of world of being an online entrepreneur. So what were you doing before that? Did you have a business that was based offline?
Yeah, so I predominantly am a performing violinist, professional performing violinist. So I perform in orchestras. I'm the assistant concertmaster of the National Ballet of Canada Orchestra. So that's my gig that I would say is a half-time gig. And then the rest of the year, I freelance. I get called to play in other orchestras in the city, and then random recording gigs, concerts, pop stars, video game shows, album recordings. That fills up the rest of the gaps. And then just before the pandemic started, I decided to take a short leave from my orchestral playing, move back to my home province where I am in Canada. I'm in Canada. And then I found out that I was stuck. I couldn't fly home back to Toronto. So I was stuck there. And luckily I was actually living with my family because that's my hometown. So that's when I decided, what am I going to do? I can't make a living. I can't play. All my gigs were being canceled. So as a musician without work, and that lasted what, 2.5 years. It was really quite dire for musicians. So I just found myself taking one little course here, one little coaching program there, and started to build my own online business. And the first online offering that I made 25,000 Canadian, and I thought, whoa, this is possible. So I've been trying to do this on my own, I guess you could say, with a bit of coaching help. But I would say that working through AdClients has just taken the game a huge notch up. There's so many skills that I never knew I did not. I thought I was doing okay on my own, let's put it that way, and it wasn't working. I was trying to do the same model of giving live challenges, which were actually good. They were converting, that's for sure, but they were a lot of work. So this method is really quite different, the evergreen model, and it has its challenges, which I'm starting to learn now, but I'm seeing results. I'm definitely seeing financial results, and I've gotten a lot better at bookkeeping, so I can see right away stats and income and monthly returns much better than I was before. I'm getting stronger as an entrepreneur. It's kind of exciting. That's a win.
Yeah. Well, that will help you scale, because you can't scale something that's messy. So that's going to really, down the long run, there are going to be skills, invaluable skills that will be worth to your business tenfold, not just the income that it provides as well. So you mentioned that you'd already kind of launched kind of the challenges kind of model, and we're doing lives and things like that. And you said it was a lot of work. So what kind of work did that entail? Why was it a lot of work? What made you want to move away from that?
Well, I liked doing lives, but I found it was very exhausting and very stressful just to get all the automation emails firing, all the material ready, and to plan it's a lecture, right? It's a 3 or 5 day lecture, and I wanted to be very prepared, and I tend to be a bit of perfectionist, which is one of the things I'm working on. But it was sometimes disappointing to show up on the live and see, this amount of people show up, and then to get them to watch the replays, and then to get them to sign up and watch the whole thing and sign up for a call. It was quite nail biting. You just didn't know whether it was going to work or not.
Hmm.
I did get some success, and I have some people who have followed me from those challenges, which is great. So I would say they've helped, but to do them was a Herculean effort. And I have a great assistant, and together we would bend over backwards, stay up late at night, just getting all the graphics, getting all the marketing material, doing organic marketing on social media, plugging the event, getting all the emails ready. It's yeah, just it was exhausting, and to do that I was trying to do that twice a year, and then the conversion rate was starting to get disappointing. I only get a few people into my program, and I thought this is exhausting. Is there a better way?
And so, to bring these people into your challenges, what were you kind of doing as your kind of traffic generation, or did you already have a list? Because obviously one of the things that we've helped you with is the ads and getting kind of like consistent, predictable traffic into your funnel. But what were you doing to get these people into your challenge funnels to begin with?
I was doing social media posting, so I
Mm-hmm.
would create posts, I would do videos, I would do lives, I would yeah, just basically do posting on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and people would then hopefully funnel into the landing page. So that's what I was
And that's a
doing.
lot of work on itself, isn't it?
It is a lot of work,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, and I still do that in addition to the paid traffic that I do now. And
Mm-hmm.
between the two, the two are very helpful because some people have told me on my sales calls that they have seen the ad, which is great, and
Mm-hmm.
then they go digging the internet to see
Of
what
course.
am all about. Of course they do, right? So
Mm.
they'll tell me, yeah, I started watching some of your YouTube channel videos, and that I think helps solidify my authority. I hope.
No,
Yeah.
for sure. It's a great way to kind of we refer to it as kind of just like um oh, what's the word we use it? I cannot think of the word. We literally use it every single day to describe what our YouTube channel and Instagram and those kind of things are doing. It's kind of like um indoctrinating them that little bit more. But there is a certain word I'm looking for, and I know it's going to come back to me very, very soon. But it's kind of one of those things where you've got your sales call, you've got your ads, which are like sales funnels. And more often than not, a lot of those people don't want to make a decision for a high ticket thing like straight away. Lots do, but some don't. And then they stay on our list. They stay subscribed. They stay as a follower, and they look at your content. They watch your videos. And down the line, they're like, you know what? I am really starting to see that these guys at AdClients are the real deal, or Lynn is the real deal. Like Lynn's got great information. She seems to want to provide value, value, value. It seems like it's actually a good step for me in the right direction to take that coaching. There's so many times we find that so often, like when you look behind the scenes on our business, like so many times you'll see like people who have booked calls with us, and it's say their call is booked for a day away or 2 days away, and in that time they're spamming the YouTube channel, getting as much content, getting as much like information about AdClients, about John, and then we'll come to the call already in a way indoctrinated into
Right.
our world, and already with the because we do have great content, and John is great and does fantastic stuff, already has that preconceived idea of I already want to work with these guys before they've even turned up on the phone, which is fantastic. And it's probably very, very
Mhm.
similar for you.
It is. And the biggest thing, I think the biggest win from going through this process with ad clients is that it's actually freed up a lot more time, because before I was busy hustling, getting
Huge one.
content and emails out for the challenges. But now that I've set this up as an evergreen model, it actually has freed up time for me to work on, from me and my assistant, to work on my email sequence. So to build up this email sequence of just pure value that I can actually
Mm.
have on autopilot as well, it's really starting to help. I think just actually two days ago, I had 7 people respond to my email. I thought, what's so special about this
Yeah.
one
Wow.
single
Yeah.
email? 7 people wrote and replied, hit reply and replied to me, and then 2 people booked calls from that one email. I thought, whoa.
That's awesome. And yeah, that's something that kind of just comes along with the process. It's exciting for you, I think, because your email list is so powerful. So too many people are leaving their email list there, kind of just like, hey, I've got this email list that I can kind of remind them that the webinar's coming up, or hey, you missed the webinar. But utilizing it in between promotions after the webinar, before, like all that time is super invaluable. Like it's
Mhm.
amazing, and it's free traffic. It's all profit if you're promoting to your email list. If you think about it that way, like it kind of just clicked in John's head one day. He was like, I have all these people here, and they already know who I am and already know my content. Why don't I just start emailing a little bit more? And it's to the point now where we generate an additional 6 figures every month at least from our email list, and we didn't have to pay for any of that because they already came through our webinar. We paid for it traffic months and months ago. They're still on our list, and now they're buying things. Yeah, it's phenomenal, and it's definitely something I recommend you keep doing. So your process of starting this online business, obviously you were offline, you bought it all online because you were forced to. I just wonder, what was the hardest thing that you think you've had to deal with when creating and bringing your business online?
Being extremely tired and busy. Exhausted.
I mean, I
Exhausted.
can imagine. Yeah.
Because even when I was creating the business during pandemic, I was scrambling to learn all the skills. But now that my work has returned, I'm keeping on top of all the coaching materials, all the videos to watch, all the work that is involved, all the homework, and all the keeping on top of everything, all the skills. And even with my assistant, it's still a lot of work. So that has been the biggest challenge, just staying alive. I work so hard, so many hours of the day, and it feels like it's a bit of a rat race, but it's starting to pay off. It really is. I did my bookkeeping, and now that I've actually on more on top of my bookkeeping, I can see that it's giving me returns. So
there's fruits from your labor.
There's fruits from my labor finally, yeah. And I'm able to track it a lot better now and see that, yes, my hard work is paying off. And I'm hoping that with a little bit more traction and a bit more experience, I will make this a lot more efficient and scale it.
100%, 100%. And so during that time, then you've got your biggest, or your hardest thing was the exhaustion, and I completely understand that. And I think it's because, I mean, I can see it anyway, but you go hard. Okay, you go in, like you're not half-assing anything.
No.
Like you are going absolutely 100% full steam ahead, like head first for a brick wall, like you are on it. But it shows. Okay, so many people will be in exactly the same position as you and be like, I am exhausted, so they will spread it out over a longer amount of time. They'll still get their goals, and just like you are, they'll still get fruits from their labor and reap some rewards. But if they'd done it faster, they would have got more rewards because they got the opportunity cost of taking long to do something. Well, they could have earned that 20 grand last month, but they didn't because they spread it out over an extra month. And I think that just shows that your sheer dedication to getting this done. And I testament to you. Like, I mean, you're always on the calls, always submitting new things for us to take a look at. And it shows. And so I wonder, just off the back of that, during kind of the journey with working with us AdClients, but also whether it's like your own thing that you've discovered from bringing a business online, because people watching this video might also be in that stage of bringing their business online or thinking about whether it's a good first step for them to take. What's the biggest lesson you think you've learned in that time?
Biggest lesson is that it is totally possible to build your own career and make your own opportunities. So with the right resources, and combining the resources with tenacity and perseverance, it is possible. And it takes a bit of an obsessive personality. I mean, clearly, one doesn't get outstanding results without a lot of hard work and dedication. That sounds like a cliche, but it's true. One has to be very dogged, as you said. And I was literally listening to another person in the entrepreneurial space. They're doing quite well in their business, and they were having a bit of a mastermind, and they shared the results, and they said the people who get outstanding results are obsessed with the results. They are obsessed with excellence. I mean, I'm a classical violinist. I happen to be obsessed with my results on the violin too. And I take all of that. So that character trait is actually what's going to carry people who want to pursue an online business. That's what's going to give you the success. Don't give up. I've failed at so many auditions. I have not gotten the results in competitions, grant writing. I have seen rejection after rejection, and yet I'm still here. I'm still a classical violinist, and same thing with entrepreneurship. I can't even say the word, but the same thing with entrepreneurship. There are going to be so many mistakes made, or brick walls that you hit, or failed launches, or headlines that just don't convert, or ads that just don't get conversions. You just keep moving ahead. I mean, it took me 9 weeks to get a sale from my ads. I just saw in the private Facebook group that someone said, help, 2 weeks later, I still don't have conversions. Well, you know what? 9 weeks. It took me 9 weeks to get a sale from my ads. So I just kept digging in and tweaking. And like you said, showing up to the clinics. I said, what can I change?
I love the advice. Show up to the clinics. You've got to become a client first, and then you can come and show up to the clinics.
That's
In the meantime, just binge watch all of our YouTube channel.
Yes, exactly.
And so, off the back of that, then I just wonder what drew you to working with us in the first place. I mean, there are dozens, if not hundreds, of online gurus who know what they're talking about. But what kind of drew you to working with us and John over anyone else?
I remember clicking on a YouTube video. It wasn't an ad, and I watched the video, and I would have to say what drew me to signing up was just the effectiveness, the convincing funnel. It was extremely well built, and I remember being on the call speaking with Justin, who was the person telling me all about it, and it was just so compelling, so convincing. Justin really made me feel like he was listening to me and could help me. And I remember feeling quite scared about it too. Quite scared for the cost of it, the cost of the coaching. And I thought, you know what, let's jump and do this. And I have to say that I've learned quite a lot of skills, quite a lot through this process.
You just spoke about numbers, and I wonder now is a good time to just kind of like talk about the numbers since you have started working with us and kind of like what that's looked like for you. So if you, I know we mentioned it just before we started the call. Do you have a breakdown of like kind of what your numbers have looked like? Just kind of a short summary of just like what you've been able to do in the short few months you've been with us.
Well, I started. Let's see. Okay, I think. Let me count the months here. It took 3 months before I launched my webinar. When I launched my webinar, I made a couple of sales. So I spent, I believe, my credit card was charged $950 US. So now I am, let's see, 4-to-1 on my ads, but I now have reached about 28,000 in sales.
28,000 in 4 months, you would say? 4 months?
Let's see. I launched the webinar late June. It's now October. So
ish.
Yeah.
Yeah, ish. That's awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, so are you happy with that?
Yeah. I want to keep going, see how I can get this consistent, and then then I'm going to see about building different offers.
Just fantastic. So launching, you mentioned already about the struggle of kind of like wanting, like waiting 9 weeks to get some sales from your ads, but you really wanted to make sure you had the right customer coming through. And how did our obviously the funnel process that we teach is works really well because it has kind of those factors in there to make sure that the person you end up on the call with at the end is already like a good fit for you. And so kind of how was it like building that process out? And kind of what was it that you tweaked along the way to change that? Because you mentioned already that you were having people on the phone, but they just weren't the right level of client for you, they weren't the right fit. And now you have the right fit. But what was it that you tweaked and what was it that you changed?
Well, I thought I had targeted the right people in my workshop, in my webinar, because I had specifically said, you're an advanced violinist and you're playing gigs. But I found that people starting to watch from, especially the ads, I was attracting beginners. So it clearly is very obvious to me that even if you're targeting, let's say, the inner ring, the outer ring will start to be attracted to it too. So I started to realize, okay, this is time to start tweaking so that I don't constantly get beginners. So I had to dial even deeper and even more precise. So I made 4 different ads, and I thought I was targeting advanced violinists. And I said that in the ad, and I was trying to demonstrate repertoire that was very advanced, not just Twinkle Twinkle Little Star. But I kept getting beginners. So then I said, okay, these next ads, by the 5th, 6th, and 7th ad, then I started getting even more precise and really changing the messaging in my ads. The copy had to be so precise and dial into the pains, the unique situations of professional violinists, very advanced violinists, not just people struggling with Twinkle Twinkle.
Awesome. Okay, cool. So making sure that the right person was coming through your funnel since the beginning, not just letting your webinar do all the work, but actually it's so important that you're even attracting the right people in through the door. and then filtering them down from there. So would you say that getting those ads and realizing that kind of thing there was like your first big milestone, or what do you think your first big milestone was that you've hit, if you've even hit it? If you haven't, then what is your big milestone that you're reaching for, like that first thing that you can put your flag in the ground and say, yes, I achieved it?
That was definitely the first big milestone. When I first got a qualified lead and made a sale from someone who never knew me, I thought this is where the biggest milestone is, because I was getting sales from people who had been nurtured for a while, which was great. I was starting to be convinced that, you know what, maybe my avatar won't trust me until I nurture them for a while, maybe even a year or two. But when I got people signing up with me and they had never heard of me, I thought this is where I'm trying to go. It's possible that I will be unknowingly nurturing some people in the background and they'll sign up with me later. But that definitely was the first milestone that said, you know what, I can target people effectively and successfully through the ad, and I will continue to refine that process. So that was the first milestone. It took a while, but I did it, and I was pretty determined to do it.
So kind of, I got like one or two last questions. So second to last one would be, if you can put your finger and say, this one thing here has been the most valuable thing I have learned with AdClients, what would you say that is?
There's not just one thing, everything.
Okay. There's not just one thing, of course. Everything is the one thing.
Okay, I will dial into each and every aspect. That's been fantastic. Okay.
Okay, now here you go. Yeah,
clinics,
actually, let me do this. So let's go through the different sections of each one. So
sure.
In your advertising, what has been that biggest thing that you have taken away?
Identifying the avatar even more than I thought was necessary. I thought I knew my avatar. No, through the Monday Mindset clinics, I discovered that you have to get even more precise. So that was a huge sign of growth through the clinics. And then marketing.
What about your funnel?
Yes, the funnel, I would say knowing how to write a really powerful headline, but also more importantly for that was actually getting really solid guidance on how to not sell, but show the wow, not the how. I really struggled with that for a long time. Huge. As an educator, I've always wanted to show how, and I thought that was going to convince
especially when you got
people.
such a physical thing you're trying to teach.
Exactly. So I really wanted to show my audience, this is how you improve. And I was convinced that was how people were going to trust me. But there was no other way that I could learn. I could not find a way. I struggled for a long time with this wow, not how. I always wanted to show the how. So that has been a huge light bulb learning opportunity for me. That's through the funnel. And then also dialing in on just powerful marketing words, vocabulary, just using them inside of my copy, the ads, the headlines, knowing how to use the right language and how to get really precise. I think my headline writing was, let's say 6 out of 10, and now it's getting up to 8 out of 10. I'm getting stronger and stronger and stronger.
And so what about your business strategy? Because there's one that we often talk about, the messaging, we talk about the ads, we talk about the funnel, we talk about all these like nitpicky things, but what about the overall business strategy that you have? It's
definitely really helpful for me to have people help guide me into streamlining. I think the biggest what's the word, thing that was holding me back before I joined AdClients was getting scattered all over the place. And through this process, I've learned that it's actually way more powerful and potent to just focus on one message, one funnel, one product, and optimize that first. And then only when you have that optimized, then you can start playing around other sandboxes. And I think that's where I was starting to stray and lose my focus and get exhausted. So this is helping me just stay on one track and perfect this one thing first.
That's a fantastic one. And so that kind of leads on nicely to kind of my last question, and that might even be your piece of advice. But for other entrepreneurs on our YouTube channel and other social media channels and things like that, that would be watching this and being inspired by your story and the hard work and tenacity that you've put into this, what would be your piece of advice for those watching it and kind of just like at the journey, maybe they're the same phase that you are, or a couple of steps behind? They're kind of like, maybe they're in that 9-week phase where nothing is quite working yet, and they're just like, do I hold on or not? Like, what would your advice be for them?
Well, know your numbers, no,
Big one.
I was almost close to stopping the process. I thought, how much more money can I spend on these ads before I throw in the towel? Because I don't want to be losing money on these ads before I make a sale. So it helped for me to finally have a handle on my bookkeeping, because I never did. So only through AdClients did I actually start to get on top of my bookkeeping, and that really helped. And then keeping track of statistics. That's also something that I learned through this process in AdClients. Keeping track of your numbers and your statistics so that you know how to tweak. Once you know exactly which part of the funnel needs tweaking, then you can zero in. Okay, I don't need to tweak this part. I can tweak this part. This is very clear to me where the chain has been broken. So once you know I think that was the biggest advice I would give myself back then, if I had known. Then you need to get on top of some numbers, bookkeeping, just so you know where it's falling apart and where you can optimize, rather than scattering over different parts of your business trying to fix all parts, when you actually can just focus on one part that really needs your help.
That's a great piece of advice. Too many entrepreneurs kind of like think they need to fix everything all at once, and that's why so many entrepreneurs get burnt out. That's why so many give up just before they're about to reach success, is because they're just exhausted with the amount of things they have to do, thinking that everything is broken, when actually you could just be one small thing you tweak. Like you said, one small thing you tweaked in your ads changed everything all the way along the funnel. And you were thinking about starting all again. So that's super awesome.
It's
Lynn.
true. It's so true, because I was thinking I need to create a new webinar, a new workshop. No, I just need to fix the front door. It was just the front door that needed to be painted or changed.
Amazing. Lynn, thank you so much for hanging out with me. I think, been really inspirational and really good as well. Obviously, we get messages daily on like your updates and things like that, but awesome to actually just sit down and kind of like chat with you about your journey with us, and kind of like how it's looking, how it's going. And I'm excited to keep working with you. I'm excited for you to reach these like 10,000 months, and hopefully even more. I don't see why you couldn't, especially with the attitude that you have. And I think you got a very exciting year or so ahead of you. So thanks so much for hanging out with me, Lynn. It's been really, really awesome, and I hope you have a fantastic day.
Thanks, Pete. Thanks so much.
See you later. Bye-bye.
Bye.